Opinion Trump vs BRICS Round 2 begins in a world no longer willing to bow. With his Sunday night proclamation on Truth Social, "There will be no exceptions," U.S. President Donald Trump reignited his personal and political war with BRICS. Announcing an additional 10% tariff on nations aligning with what he called anti-American policies, Trump opened round 2 of a contest that is no longer purely economic, but ideological and geopolitical. His declaration, vague and unsubstantiated, follows a familiar script: make noise, intimidate, and impose economic punishment to reassert U.S. dominance. But the world Trump imagines a world where countries quake at the mention of American tariffs is vanishing fast. The BRICS bloc, long dismissed by Western analysts as a talk shop or paper tiger, is slowly but unmistakably coming of age. And it is doing so in direct response to actions like these. Trump's tariff threats a boomerang strategy. Trump's economic nationalism is nothing new. In his first term, he applied the same tactic against China, the European Union, and even Canada and Japan, countries traditionally viewed as allies. But while he managed to extract some concessions, his trade war with China left global supply chains bruised, inflationary pressures high, and the American consumer footing the bill. It did not succeed in reshoring U.S. manufacturing or taming China's ambitions. Now, his attempt to use the same hammer against BRICS is not only outdated but counterproductive. In threatening BRICS with a 100% tariff 6 months ago if they dare challenge the dollar's supremacy, Trump may have done more to accelerate de-dollarization than any summit or policy paper could have. His latest move, imposing a 10% tariff across the board, will likely deepen economic rifts, not heal them. The irony is stark: every time Trump lashes out, BRICS grows bolder, and more countries line up to join. BRICS, from slogan to strategy, once mocked for lumping together disparate economies, BRICS has quietly transformed into a political and economic coalition that is both ideologically diverse and strategically coherent. Brazil's Lula da Silva, India's Narendra Modi, China's Xi Jinping, Russia's Vladimir Putin, and South Africa's Cyril Ramaphosa, leaders who rarely agree on every issue, are now united in one cause: reducing dependence on the US-led economic order. The bloc's recent summit in Brazil was a showcase of this unity. Without naming Trump or the US, the joint statement sharply criticized unilateral tariff and non-tariff measures, a clear rebuke of Trump's weaponization of trade. The statement also warned that these actions threaten to unravel global trade, destabilize supply chains, and exacerbate economic inequalities, especially in the global south. What is Trump afraid of? Trump is not afraid of BRICS as an economic bloc per se. What he fears, and what the U.S. foreign policy establishment has long feared, is the erosion of American primacy in setting the rules of global trade and finance. The U.S. dollar's role as the world's reserve currency has been a cornerstone of American influence for decades. It allows the U.S. to run budget deficits without immediate consequences, enforce sanctions globally, and dictate financial norms. BRICS's move to explore alternative payment mechanisms and possibly a shared trading currency is a direct threat to this privilege. Trump, whose worldview hinges on zero-sum calculations, sees this as economic betrayal. But his threats and tariffs, instead of isolating BRICS, have only pushed more nations toward the bloc. Indonesia's recent accession, alongside countries like Iran, Egypt, and Ethiopia, reflects this growing gravitational pull. Even oil giants like Saudi Arabia and Venezuela are expressing interest, hardly a sign of irrelevance. A fractured world order, or a more equitable one. Critics of BRICS often point to the ideological divergence within the bloc: India's democratic credentials versus China's authoritarianism, or Brazil's social democracy versus Russia's autocracy, is proof that it lacks cohesion. But that misses the point. BRICS does not aim to create a unified political ideology. Its coherence lies in its shared demand for multipolarity and economic sovereignty. Moreover, the Global South's enthusiasm for BRICS reflects a deeper truth. For decades, institutions like the IMF, World Bank, and WTO have failed to represent the interests of non-Western nations. BRICS, with its emphasis on development banks, local currencies, and mutual respect, offers an alternative that resonates. Bolivia's President Luis Arce perhaps said it best: there is a clear struggle between the old stagnant bloc of the US and Europe on one side and the emerging bloc of BRICS countries on the other. That struggle is no longer theoretical. It is playing out in real time, and Trump's aggressive stance is accelerating it. India's balancing act. India's presence in the joint BRICS statement is also worth noting. Under PM Modi, India has tried to walk a fine line, balancing its partnership with the US through forums like the Quad while remaining an integral part of BRICS. Yet New Delhi's decision to co-sign a document implicitly criticizing Trump's tariff war signals a growing discomfort with Washington's unilateralism. As the world's most populous democracy and fastest-growing major economy, India stands to benefit from both worlds, but not if forced to pick a side. The statement's reference to the terrorist attack in Jammu and Kashmir is another sign that BRICS is trying to reflect the concerns of all its members, not just its loudest voices. That alone may be why countries as diverse as Kazakhstan, Nigeria, and Thailand are queuing up to join. Conclusion: the world is watching and moving on. Trump's threats may sound strong, but they increasingly echo into a vacuum. The world is watching him not with fear, but with exasperation. His reliance on tariffs and bullying no longer intimidates, it galvanizes. BRICS, in response, is no longer a collection of nations looking for a seat at the table, it's building a new table altogether. Swipe left for next video. Round 2 of Trump vs BRICS has begun. But unlike the last time, the fight is not one-sided. The battlefield is bigger, the players more numerous, and the outcome far less predictable. One thing is clear: the old rules no longer apply, and the world no longer bows quite so easily to Washington's tune. Nan, the writer, is a technocrat, political analyst, and author. He pens national, geopolitical, and social issues. His social media handle is Prasenjitan. Views expressed in the above piece are personal and solely those of the author. They do not necessarily reflect News 18's views. Latest blogs.